Ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Here come your brother. A product of the Marcus Garvey days. Yeah, my man. We coming with the message. You see, the message has not been expanded on, and it gives me the most delightful feeling to come to you for the first time in my lecturing journey of 47 years. I'm coming to Jamaica to share with you that which need to be touched upon, and we all should know your brother is coming home. All right? So get ready and share with you a message from the ancestors, the alkali world. Yeah, we're gonna electrify the community.
Our next story is about hope and hopelessness. AIDS has almost become a synonym for death. The disease has no cure and few treatments. Some blame the federal government for not responding to the epidemic fast enough. Others point to standard medical practice, which so far has little to offer. The stage is set, people are frightened, and every quack out there knows it. As the AIDS epidemic grows, so does the network of AIDS fraud. Charlatans who advertise mostly by word of mouth, although some are bolder than that. They feed on despair, and it's so very simple. When you've been given a death sentence, you'll try anything, from the unproven to the unbelievable.
An AIDS patient came in just recently. He was frightened of dying. And in less than 15 minutes, he opened his eyes and was feeling sober. He said, I like looking at pretty girls. I said, you're crazy. You just came in here half dead. What you talking about looking at pretty girls? That's how quick he responded, because the body accepts things electrically. Life is electrical.
And death from AIDS avoidable, Dr. Sebi claims.
The mucus is clogged in the nasal passage.
Dr. Sebi isn't a doctor. He's an herbalist, a man from Honduras who brought his bag of miracles to Brooklyn. His cure for AIDS starts at $500. It's the same regimen of diet and herbs he prescribes for everything, including this woman's sinus problem.
Your heart beats fast once in a while. It picks up a beat or two. So how do I know all of that? Because everybody has the same disease. I am asked for power am I curing these disease. Some people call me scientist, some call me voodoo man, some call me a whole bunch of stuff.
I would call him part of a growth industry that we will see related to the exploitation of the AIDS virus. People out there who are prepared to market hope and sell it at premium prices. Virginia Puzo is New York's Deputy Commissioner of Consumer Protection. She learned of Sebi's cure the same way his AIDS patients did. She read his ad in the newspaper. When you advertise that you can do something that you can't do, and then you start charging $100 for it, we call that consumer fraud. Sebi says he's cured 7 people with AIDS. When asked for proof, he offers up the case of a Boston man.
Frank left Boston and took a cross-country trip. Happy as a lark, because the doctor told him he's free of AIDS. He came back to Boston with a slight fever that he could not understand. The infection had gone too far. I was there too late. Frank died. But the doctors in Boston told me, he didn't die with AIDS. I'm happy to tell you, Dr. Sebi, that you cured him of AIDS.
Shut up. He said, okay, I quit my job and I'm curing the disease. Now what? I came to you. After I had cured 5 AIDS patients, 10 diabetics, about 15 sickle cells, about 4 blind, I decided to go brave on this stuff. I put it in the Amsterdam News, the Village Voice, and the New York Post. AIDS has been cured. When the Attorney General saw that, he said to tell me to remove the ad. I sent back and asked the man, why should I remove the ad? He got very angry and sent me to the Consumer's Affairs to see another white man named Mr. Fitzgerald. He said, well, are you the author of this ad that claims that AIDS has been cured? I said, yes. I want you to remove it. He said, why did I always hear people telling me to do things and yet not giving me a reason? So I said, sir, why should I remove the ad? He said, because I said so. I said, oh boy, we have a little problem. Small little problem, sir. He said, what is the problem? The problem is that the only person in the universe, and that includes the Virgin Mary, to tell me to do something and I would do it. It's not the Virgin Mary nor you. It happens to be my mama. See, when my mama tells me to do something, I'm not going to question her. But if the Virgin Mary or you tell me to do something, I'm going to ask you why. Why do I have to remove the ad? He said, because I said so. I said, well, the ad stays in the paper. I went to my office. Very night. It was a Monday night. I got a call on 8 o'clock, right around this time. I see you haven't removed the ad. I said, I have a sneaky feeling that you're going to tell me where I should remove it. She said, I'll see you in hell. The next day, I was arrested. Practicing medicine without a license.
This is
selling products not approved by the FDA. I'm claiming to cure AIDS and other diseases, which is a fraudulent
story. Michael.
Well, that's right, Harold. He's an immigrant from Honduras who never went to school, college, or medical school. Yet the man known as Dr. Sebi claims to have found the cure for several life-threatening diseases, including AIDS. Too good to be true? Well, you be the judge.
The lump in Myrtle Rick's left breast is gone.
I haven't had any symptoms or problems, anything.
Sabrina Peterson's son no longer disabled by sickle cell anemia.
He has a lot of energy. I have to make him rest.
Disease is cured by this man. His name is Dr. Sebi, but you won't find a medical degree hanging from his wall. Instead, a certificate of healing.
We have complex things with science, but if we go back to God and use the herbs as God said, then you can see how simple it is. Then
Dr. Sebi believes what ails you can be cured with natural alkaloid herbs and a vegetarian diet solely made up of what he calls electric foods, mushrooms, greens, and rye breads without starch.
Hippocrates established the principle of medical science by using herbs to cure diseases, then why the physician using the chemicals?
40 years ago, a doctor in Mexico cured Sebi of diabetes, asthma, and obesity with the very same herbs and diet he dispenses to all of his patients, whether they're suffering from lack of energy or full-blown AIDS.
That package is an intracellular chelation. I'm removing plaque from the system. I'm removing inflammation. That is the base for all disease.
And according to a medical affidavit provided by Dr. Sebi, it's working. It shows a patient diagnosed with HIV in November of 1993 was cured 2 months later. Thousands of patients worldwide swear by his methods and natural herbal medicine.
Well, it certainly sounds like you know what you're talking about. Your concepts are very interesting and they make a lot of sense. Can you explain to me why the newspapers, I want to show you some headlines in some of the newspapers, phony AIDS doc is ordered to stop. Here's another one. AIDS doctor banned from medical practice. AIDS do-it-yourself treatment, and below that is felonious herbs. A herbalist who claims to cure AIDS is nabbed. He calls arrest racist and a smear campaign. And last but not least is Herbal Research Institute, is it being discredited? It sounds as though these institutions were out to get you. And I would like to know why it is they brought you up on charges. Was there any kind of investigation made at all into your claims that you made?
There is a kind of mania that exists on the planet today that prevent truth from being accepted because the untruth is moving
at such a tremendous momentum that truth now is in a very precarious position at this time. Because why? Example. I am the citizen of a country, and I have been engaging in certain practices of this thing we call nutrition and healing. And people that has been serviced by the Institute have claimed to have all these things reversed, and it's published. Instead of arresting this individual, it should have been investigated. Well, this is like ideally speaking. But we do not live in that society today, in such society that is ideal. We live in one that is full of anger. I was not surprised that the Attorney General would arrest me. In fact, the police, when he came into this place, he drew his gun, and I asked him, why did he have his gun drawn? He said, to surprise me. I said, but I've been waiting for you for 18 years. So you were the one that surprised, not I, because I knew you was coming. Why? One is that there is great amount of money involved in natural healing that would deprive the pharmaceutical laboratories, I suppose, because there's money to be made of those chemicals. But are we going to sacrifice the life of America and the world for the sake of chemicals? Isn't that another catch? Sure, he had to arrest me. Maybe in favor of the chemical people. Or maybe it is that he didn't know. Or another is that he placed me in the category of the previous healers that came. They didn't do anything. They didn't make any claims. They didn't do anything. So naturally, if one out of a flock of people that has not shown anything or stood up for their own rights, if they had accomplished something, well, he just piled the pack. And I was not in disagreement with the Attorney General because he did his job. But it was his mistake by assuming that I was part of the pack. I am not part of any pack. Never has been, never could be. Well,
good afternoon and welcome to Ramona's Roundtable. I'm your host, Ramona Rachel Gittins, and this is an episode brought to you by Link. I've heard about Dr. Sebi for many years, and he's sort of a legend that I haven't really been able to sort of get to. I haven't really understood a lot of his philosophy. A lot of it is because I haven't heard much of it one-on-one. So this is actually an honor for me today, and I'm glad that everyone who's listening to this is able to join us. And this looks like it's going to be a two-part conversation, and it looks like it's also going to be very, very interesting. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Sebi.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so very much.
I would like to let you start by sort of telling us your story from the beginning. I'm interested sort of in where you are now because I've heard a lot about you over the years, but sort of starting from the beginning, and if you could just maybe before you do that, for people who don't know, you give an introduction and sort of an overview.
Thank you. Quick. I was born in Spanish Honduras in the year of 1933. I was born in a small village named Milanga. The boy grew up, never going to school, whether kindergarten, high school, grade school, or whatever. Became a merchant seaman. But by the time he became a merchant seaman, he was very deadly ill. He had diabetes. He had asthma from birth. He was impotent at 28. And at 30, he had diabetes, asthma, obesity, and insanity. And with the help of Mexican people, I was cured. I decided to enter the field of natural medicine.
Can I interrupt you for a quick second?
Of course.
I'm sorry. When you started off, you were referring to yourself in the third person, and you switched to the first person. Do you see who you were earlier in your life as sort of a different person, as though you've sort of become yourself in the second half of your life?
I was always a different person. I disagree with everything. I disagree with everything. Everything I heard, I disagreed with.
Right.
And I was 14 years of age when I said that I was going to work. I was working since I was 11 because my grandmother raised me. And she was my responsibility to take care of paying the rent, buying her clothes, buying her food. So, but I was tall and I was very, I suppose, sensible. So I just grew up, and at 14, I made a statement that I was going to do something to help humanity. But when I made that statement, I also knew that I was going to come up against the established or prevailing philosophy of life. That I knew at 14 years of age. But I didn't know that one day that I would become the person that I'm known for today as being the healer. I didn't know that. When my first patient, my very first patient, I was a steam engineer working for the county of Los Angeles. And this blind man had heard that I was experimenting with these plants. And his neighbor said, well, why don't you take it? And he took the plants, and in 2 days he was seeing. And he was blind for 11 years. That shook me, because I couldn't explain to the world the mechanics behind this blind man seeing.
What were your thoughts when you formulated the
compound?
Right.
The way that the compounds came into existence, was being a steam engineer, I knew that the pH value, the pH factor, had a lot to do with healing. And the herbalists then, like the herbalists today, are unaware that the pH factor has a lot to do with it. Meaning this, I said that if God tell us that the herbs are for the healing of the nations, in the book of Genesis, in the book of Ezekiel, in the book of Exodus, and the book of Revelation, it says that the herbs are for the healing of the nations. Then as I go further into the history of medicine, this is what I found, that the great Hippocrates used herbs to cure disease, and that he cured every disease known to man. This man was curing every disease in Greece 365 years before Christ was even born. So when people tell us that only Jesus heals, you remind them that Hippocrates was here long before he was born, 300 years. So I said, if Jesus cured with herbs, Hippocrates cured with herbs, and God said the herbs, then what's up? Why aren't we curing with herbs today? So I said, one day when I went to work, my wife and I was talking all night. We were engaged in this conversation about these herbs. So Ma said to me that there could be something locked someplace that prevent us from accomplishing the goals that Jesus Christ and Hippocrates accomplished. When I went to work that night, I found it. I laughed. Oh, I was so happy. I was extremely happy because I said, it is required of us to maintain the pH at 6.9. At 7, which is the neutral zone, pH of 7 is neutral. And if it is slightly on the acid side, it's 6.9. And the reason why we maintain the pH at 6.9 is to keep the tubes of the boiler clean, that there will be no life form in there. But if the pH is 7.1, oh, now you're going to experience life. Life form will begin to accumulate in the tubes of the boiler, preventing the radiant heat or the convection heat from reaching the tubes. I said that if life was so powerful that it could exist in a temperature of 450 degrees, then the herbs that heal would have to be alkali on 7 plus instead of acid 6.9. Then I begin to check the pH of all the herbs. I begin to test it. I test comfrey, acid. I test garlic, acid. I also tested aloe vera, St. John wort, rose hips, comfrey. All of these things are very acid. Carrot juice is extremely acid, yet the healers in New York
Then and now, I'm still recommending these acid foods. So I said, well, let me investigate further to see which are the alkali herbs. And I began to see that burdock, yellow dock, also the elderberry, these are alkali plants. Also the Virginia snake root, that's alkali. One has to know the herbs that are alkali opposed to the herbs that are acid. This today is not really considered, nor do they follow that particular, road or understanding, because the herbalists of today are recommending peppermint. Peppermint is very acid. Peppermint freezes the brain. Some even recommend peppermint oil. Peppermint oil is extremely caustic. So now we have this kind of information in front of us being disseminated and carried out. So there's confusion in the population. But the one thing that my supporters or the people that helped me, that counseled me, they said to me, Sebi, the one thing that you have in your favor is that you have cure and you are curing the diseases that others are not curing. So that is the barometer that tells us that the acid herb that they're using prevent them from reaching the goal that they're pursuing. It was my steam engineering experience that helped me in herbology to understand the herb that God made. Yes, it has to be made by God. If we eat something that God didn't make, we are running the risk of disease. Then we're going to be angry. Like I were at only 30 years of age, I was extremely angry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's deal with this, because there might be some folks out there that are looking in here and they're saying, well, how did you learn to do these things, one? And I would say, and I think we have something that we'll end up showing on the screen here, regarding in 1979, I think it was, you were charged in New York City with practicing medicine without a license. You were ultimately charged, indicted, and taken before the New York Supreme Court. And I would advise my viewers who might be questioning your authenticity that you won that case. Now, so the charge was practicing medicine without a license and claiming that you had a remedy to cure AIDS, cancer, and diabetes. So the question is, how did you win that case against what some people say are the toughest prosecutors in the land?
Well, it was 1987.
87, not 79, 87.
The 10th of February.
Okay.
My mother knew they were coming. When I told my mama that I had cured my 13 AIDS patient, she said, they're gonna get you. They're gonna get you.
So let me stop you there. You said I cured my 13 AIDS patients.
Yeah.
So you had 13 patients,
yeah,
who had AIDS.
Yeah.
And then you say
you
cured them.
Sure.
Keep talking.
So my mother said, they're gonna get you. I said, but Mom, why are they gonna get me? Because you must remember that you live in a society that supports a certain philosophy and a certain system. You being the color that you are, black, and then you're going against the grain, they're gonna get you. So when I'm in my office on February the 10th, here come the detectives. You are charged with practicing medicine without a license, selling product not approved by the FDA, and claiming to cure AIDS and other diseases. I said, yes. Well, you are making a fraudulent claim. I asked the detective, how do you know that?
Because you were advertising in newspapers.
Of course. I advertised in the Village Voice, the Amsterdam News, and the New York Post.
And you were telling people through your advertising that you can cure
AIDS, sickle cell, lupus, herpes, blindness, diabetes, paralysis, and others.
Okay, so they come knocking on the door and
So it knocked on my door and took me to jail. But the funny thing about it, I was happy. I was very, very, extremely happy. When everybody in my office was crying, I was happy because my mama told me they were coming. And I knew that I had sufficient evidence to prove my position. Not only scientifically, empirically, historically, and whatever way they would desire. So while I was in jail, I'm saying, I wonder what defense they would have against me.
Yeah.
I would like to know. But I didn't blame the Attorney General, Mr. Robert Abrams, because why should he accept from me the statement that I cure AIDS and sickle cell and blindness when no one else has ever made those claims? The man had a right to arrest me, but he was making a mistake. So I'm sitting in jail, and I'm happy. When I got out of jail and when I went in front of the judge, I asked 3 questions.
And they were?
They were, Your Honor.
You defended yourself?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Your Honor, is it a fact that the Holy Bible teaches that the herbs are for the healing of the nations? She said, yes. Is it a fact that science shows that the human body is carbon-based, and to complement a carbon-based body, you must have a carbon-based substance to complement it, because the body only accepts the substance through the process of chemical affinity. Chemical affinity is important. It's an electrical transfer. Chemical affinity.
Okay.
The body could only accept what it is made of, not something new or alien to it. Last question. Your Honor, is it a fact that the father of medicine, Mr. Hippocrates, the man that established the principle of medical science today, cured every disease known to man? Did he use herbs or chemicals? She said, herbs. I said, thank you very much. I rest my case.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I understood that the state were unprepared to defend itself. They were unprepared because in the past there was 2,781 cases that came before the Supreme Court and lost. I won. Not only did I prove scientifically, but I had the diagnostic sheets, and I do have them today. And those diagnostic sheets didn't come from me. They came from their school, their American medical accredited school.
Did I read it correctly where there was some requirement for you to actually bring patients, a patient into court from each of those maladies, and that you brought multiple patients in court who, one, testified themselves, and that you had medical records, one showing that they were victims of the disease, and then showing that it had been cured by one doctor, and then a second doctor verifying what the first doctor had said?
Yes. We have to remember this, that whenever you make a statement that goes against the grain, you better be prepared. You better be prepared. The judge said that I had to bring one of every patient that I had cured, and there was one that said others. The others was a man that came from Italy. He was paralyzed. But I was supposed to take 9. I took 77.
You took 77 patients in court with you?
That's correct. But I knew that my brain was not the same as your brain or any other brain, right? We're unique.
Yeah.
So when I make a statement, they're going to take my statement and pit it against philosophy. It doesn't fit. I represent an entity that isn't philosophical.
And that entity is?
Well, it is an African one. I'm an African. And we have to remember that. You see, we think that we could take a philosophy out of Europe or China and inculcate that into the African brain. It does not resonate. It cannot resonate. You cannot be yourself when you've been adulterated. Being that I am an African, I'm going to look at things the African way. And the African way seems to reduce things to the least common denominator. And guess what I found? That there's only one disease, not two, not three, one. When I opened my big black mouth and told the judge that, oh my God. What did you say? I said, Your Honor, there's only one disease.
And what is
Could
that?
you substantiate that?
Okay.
Of course, I'm not going to just deploy a bunch of empty words. I represent a country. I represent a people. I represent a race. And I represent myself. I'm not going to undermine myself. There's only one disease. The judge said, what is it? I said, you already know. She said, try me. It was a woman, Ann Thelman. I said, Your Honor, when someone has sinusitis, what is obstructing the nasal passage? She said, mucus. And when another has bronchitis, what is obstructing the bronchial tubes? She said, mucus. And when another has pneumonia, what's covering the cells of the lungs? She said, mucus. Dr. Victor Herbert, who is defending the state of New York, jumped up and said, what about AIDS? You and your one disease theory? I said, Your Honor, this doctor is saying that I believe in a theory. I am the last individual on earth that could believe in a theory. I do not lend myself to theories or philosophy. Either I know or I don't know.
Okay.
He's talking about theories.
Yeah. You talking about the real deal.
I'm talking about reality, not theories, not philosophy.
So please share with this.
So she said, and what about AIDS?
Yeah.
I said, well, he asked about what about AIDS? He want to know where the mucus. I said, Your Honor, have you been to an AIDS ward? She said, yes. I said, what is it that the AIDS spits up every 5 minutes? She said, mucus. Where is the mucus? It's in the skin, it's in the blood, and the lymphatic system that makes up the immunological system. That is where you find the mucus.
Is it possible for one group to have the cures for the world? Because your part of your philosophy is, or I don't want to say your philosophy, part of your outlook or your beliefs is that people are at their healthiest when they're eating foods that come from the region of their ethnic origin.
That's not happening.
Right, but that's what you believe.
No, I don't believe that either. What I believe is to eat food that came out of the product of life itself. I don't care whether you're Chinese, Eskimo, Arab, or what. If you eat something natural, you're going to be healed.
But do you believe that people, for instance, that black people should not eat foods that are not indigenous to Africa?
That's a horse of a different color. Black people should not eat Chinese food because Chinese food or even Caucasian food. There is a book out by a man known as Pablo Arriola, and he is known to be one of the most distinguished nutritionists in the world. And he said that if your ancestors are from Africa, your body is not programmed to digest milk. But if you are European, yes. So right there, they're telling us that there's a difference in the genetical makeup of these two individuals.
So if people have a different genetic makeup that makes them react differently to different herbs, products, foods, would it be possible for one group to have sort of a cure for the entire world, or would you have, or would they be moving towards a cure for people within the same ethnic group?
Well, it should be like that, I suppose, but our experience shows us
that it crosses all lines.
That it crosses all boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Seamoths have me doing things every morning like this. That's sea moths, okay? Sea moths have me falling on my knees every morning to check them. And if they hurt, then something is wrong. Sea moths is alive. Corella isn't natural. It's not natural. Sea moths is natural. Sea moths have potassium iodide and potassium bromide. It has natural silica. That's why my bones, I could fall on my knees. Because sea moths is the best thing yet. Look, in fact, Ralph, the brother worked with me and Mr. G, he make a sea moths, man, the best I ever had.
Because people come to us. There was once upon a time when there were more white people coming to us.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese come to us. Japanese, I just said that Matun just killed a woman in Japan of lung cancer, and she never seen the woman. They called from Japan and told Matun, like Annette, have cured many, Matun have cured many, so is Tatanisha. And they have never seen these people. She sent them the compound to Japan, and she was cured. We sent compound to Europe, and they were cured. I have a letter from a psychiatric group in France who want me to go and lecture to them. Why? Because someone with schizophrenia was cured that they know about. So these compounds cured everyone, whether you're black, white, Chinese, or Eskimo, providing they are natural. But the substance that you're going to eat as a staple, yes, I agree with you. You are 100% right. It has to be something that is genetically consistent with you.
Okay. No, I wasn't saying that, and I'm not saying that either, because I don't know it. It's something I'm asking you about.
But you did. It was good.
I've heard that you said that.
Yes, but it was correct.
Okay.
It's apropos.
Okay. And I'd like to hear a little bit about that in terms of people and the relationship between the staple diet and where your ancestors are from.
We're going to give you an example, a good example. From the day that God created this universe and made black people, how many years it has been since God placed black people in Africa? Do you have any idea? The anthropologist has no idea, but it would spout out these numbers for you, that God made the universe 9.5 billion years ago. So the other is, when did he put black people in Africa? They say 1.5 million years ago. But what was the food that God placed in Africa for these people? Certainly, it could not have been potatoes. It could not have been rice or beans or yams or chicken or hogs or cows. It could not be a goat or a lamb, because all these things are hybrid. God did not make these things. These things came just recently, only 4,000 years ago. So what were we eating in Africa before we were taken away? What were we eating in Africa before there was an invasion by the man from Europe? We simply do not know. And it is because we are unaware of this diet that God made specifically for us. This is why we're angry today and we're so divided. Everybody's laughing at us. They're laughing more at me. On the airplane, the pilots came to see me a few weeks ago when I was in the plane before 911, and they were looking at the brochure that I had that says that AIDS has been cured, and herbalists cure AIDS, and the Supreme Court of New York cannot deny, can't disagree. They were laughing at me. Why? Because you are not supporting me. So they think that I'm a fake. Because if it was a white man curing AIDS, the captain said, the whole white race would be supporting them, but my race is not going to support me. The leaders of America can't do it. Farrakhan can't do it. Jesse Jackson can't do it, because they were not designed to do this kind of work. They were designed to lobby and to talk, and to, like Mr. Al Sharpton, he likes to make people march. That's cool. But we got a job to do in healing the black race now. That comes in a different category. Those leaders cannot help me. And that's why I'm vulnerable.
The white man won. Why he won? I won the case. I proved that I cure AIDS. But he won because he knows that you would never believe it. That is where the white man won. And to substantiate my claim, when I won the case, the night that I went to get the verdict, there was no black people there. There was a bunch of white people there. The Park Slope paper came to me. The white man sent that to me. Dr. Sebi, you mind if I ask a question? I said, no. Where are the black newspapers? Tonight you have set a precedent. This is the first time in the United States government or the country in which someone stood up against the American Medical Association and went. Where are the black newspapers? I said, I don't know. Where are the black leaders? I don't know. I don't even care. I did it for me, not for the public. I want to show the world what a black man could do. The white man said, well, I'm going to write about it. And he put it in the Park Slope paper. Herbalist cure AIDS. Dr. Sebi, natural cure for AIDS, and more use food, not drugs. A white man did that. I went to Saigon. I went to Jesse Jackson. I went to Sharpton. I went to Maddox. I went to Mason. I went to Ben Jokanen. None of them helped. They prefer to see you dead. Woo. I'm going to travel across the continent because I said they have abandoned me in America. I went to Africa. I went to Sierra Leone. They looked at me like I was stupid. I went to Ghana. They didn't want to hear it. I went to Zimbabwe. No, I went to Tanzania. The ambassador looked at me and he talked a whole bunch of stuff. He went on to talk about spirituality and the ghosts and the spirits. I said, I want to go home. I went to Zimbabwe. I went to see Dr. Parinyatwa. I said, Dr. Parinyatwa, I don't want to be disappointed, but if I am disappointed, I would understand. He said, what do you have for Zimbabwe? I said, I cure AIDS. I cure diabetes. I cure sickle cell. I cure blindness. Here is the proof. He said, think about it. I said, fine. I came back to America, never to look back at Africa. This may sound bad to you. Oh, yes, it does sound bad, isn't it? That I'm an African by heritage. And that the one place that I should rescue from the grasp of disease should be Africa. Am I right? Right. That is our mother. But when you go to Africa and you talk to an African leader, he look at you like you're stupid. How do you think I feel? I went to South Africa to see Mr. Mandela and the rest of them. The other day when I saw Mandela sitting there in this big chair, I thought I saw the biggest fool in the world. Why? Because he's lying. He's straight out lying. Why do I make such a blatant statement? Because I know I'm telling the truth. He's lying. Because I went to South Africa. I went to his ministry, and he too rejected. I went to Oprah Winfrey. She rejected. WWRL, they said, don't interview this man. WLIB, they called him and said, don't you interview this man. So who do I turn to? My mother told me, because my mother's still alive. She's 90, I'm 70. She's 20 years older than me. She had me when she was 20. She said, son, look, let me tell you something. Shut up. You told me 5 years ago that the black race has been drugged with glucose, and you want them to listen to you. You want black people to listen to you when they ate glucose and continue to do so. What is glucose? Glucose is a chemical that would change your thinking pattern. It intercepts and confounds the hypothalamus in your brain. That's what sugar does. That's what starch does. We see it in Africa. Right in Nigeria, you have Igbos, Hausa, and Yorubas. You think they get along? That's just in one country, right? We're not going to talk about Susu and Fulani. They like to take each other's throat. Why is that? When we're brothers and sisters, Something must have gone wrong, isn't it? What went wrong was that we were unaware that the stuff that they gave us to eat was undermining our thinking. We are beautiful people. We are loving people. Sure we are, all of us are, and we're smart. I'm not smarter than you. How could I be smarter than you when I carry the same amount of gene cells in my brain as you carry? I'm not smarter than you. I just have a message because some of you have a message that I don't have. I don't have the message for everything, isn't it? Do I know everything? No. The answer is no, but I cure diseases. And we need that now, isn't it? Right. But we need bricklayers. We need clothes makers. We need all these art and craft.
We've been curing people of lupus and herpes and cancer and blindness. And not one black leader ever said, well, let us help the brother.
That you just mentioned what some people in hushed tones refer to as the C word. Right. Is it wrong for a cancer patient to be treated with chemotherapy?
Chemotherapy is an approach that destroys cells. Chemotherapy doesn't distinguish between good cells and bad cells. Mm-hmm. It destroys cells. It's an acid approach.
What kind of approach?
Acid.
Oh, acid approach, okay. Mm-hmm.
My approach is an intracellular cleansing. What causes disease in the first place? An acid condition. Well, let us sweep it out. Let us find the plants that are consistent with cleansing. You see, we just begin to wake up. We just begin to realize that we are way in a deep deficit.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that we have never spent time in analyzing or even trying to understand the difference in our genetic predisposition. We have never understood the science of biochemistry. All of the folks that have came to us, they came to us with history, bunch of history, a lot of religion, a lot of philosophy, but none of them came with a food that would help me to live as healthy as I possibly can. Look carefully. We're not going to make excuses no more. Mm-hmm. Because if we continue to make excuses, we're going to go deeper into the deficit. Mm-hmm. Just recently, a report came out that the Christian diet need to be examined, re-examined. Because in the Christian diet, you have people eating hog, potatoes, rice, and beans. But if we take this substance to a biochemist, he's not going to find any food in any of these substances. So why do we eat these things? Then we get sick. I always use that black woman in the jungle. For some reason, she keeps showing up. This black woman in the jungle keeps showing up as setting the standards and raising the bar.
Tell me what you refer to when you say this black woman in the jungle.
Oh, I mean, this woman was the woman that set the standards. This woman didn't die because of disease. She didn't have any hospitals in the jungle. She didn't have any doctors. She didn't have any medicine. That's why Hippocrates said that your medicine should be your food, or your food should be your medicine. Mm-hmm. Because the African people didn't have a doctor. They didn't need him. Because they didn't have any of the substance that would violate the biology of the individual. So how long did they live? Do you and I know how long those Africans lived in the forests of Africa before the chemical people came? Furthermore, my mama wasn't naked. She was natural. Because to say that my mama was naked in the forest is to say that God made clothes.
And I understand that you've had some disappointment and frustration in dealing with African governments and African leaders, that after you have presented your body of work and these different people that you have healed, and Africa, many countries in Africa being so desperately in need of a way to address, just start and stop with AIDS. But for the most part, they've rejected your approach.
Of course, and they were right to reject me. Not only Africa, I quit my job as an engineer to go to Dominica. I went to Dominica, and oh, I was happy. Beautiful island, beautiful people. And people were cured of blindness, diabetes, and a whole lot of other stuff.
You said people were cured. You helped?
Yes, while I was there. And Miss Mary Eugenia Charles said, you got to go. I said, but Miss Charles, I'm doing a service here.
Yeah.
Look, you got to go. Okay? She kicked me out.
Yeah.
Me and my crazy self, I went to South Africa under the leadership of Mr. Nelson Mandela. I said, well, I went to the Board of Health. I said, this is what I have done. And I showed them all my documents and diagnostic sheets. AIDS is devastating South Africa.
Yeah.
So I thought that because I could do this job, that I would be received with love. That's all I wanted, love, right? Understood. Mandela said, get out of here. Nelson Mandela, wait. Another one, Mr. Mugabe from Zimbabwe. Oh, I got to Zimbabwe. I took all these boxes of compounds and, oh, I was happy. I'm going to do some work in Africa. I said, get out. I said, wow, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? But when I look at it carefully, the African were right to kick me out. They are right to reject me. Every African country is 100% right.
Why do you say that?
They are right because the African people are totally unaware that what they are eating is undermining their struggle, undermining their own existence. Africa is eating starch and blood. Starch and blood.
In what ways is the black race in need of healing?
In what
ways is
the black race need healing? One of the areas that the black race need healing mostly is in the central nerve system. Because we have been eating acid food for 400 years.
And how does that manifest itself in terms of?
Socially?
Socially, physically, and
physically.
What's the damage that?
Okay, socially we see that very seldom our leaders agree with their own selves. The leaders are at war. They are all in disagreement because among the leaders you find Muslims, you find Christians, you find Buddhists, you find all of that. And they all seem to disagree with each other's position. The politician, well, I don't know what role politics play in our progression health state. How we see it, again, is that we are not together on any issue that is pragmatic, that's going to elevate us in producing something for our own existence. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. And we are the only people on the planet that denies that.
Okay, so I guess there are a few things I want to pull out of what you just said. The first one is a relationship between diet and behavior.
Diet and behavior has a direct their relationship.
Okay, and then that this is affecting Black Americans in a particular way, so that it's something you can see throughout our community. And would the difference be that Black Americans are not in their sort of original like homeland, and so that would be why there'd be a greater problem for Black Americans?
Temperature and food.
Temperature and
but not so much as the African. Do you know that Black America, on the scale from 1 to 10, if we are to be perfect at 10, Black America is about 5, Africa is about 2. Black America is closer to the goal than Africa.
You're talking about food or diet? I mean diet or behavior?
Diet and behavior.
Okay.
Because If a young man in California is in love with you, that you met, he's not going to ask you what tribe are you a member of, right? No, you're not.
Right.
But in Africa, if you are Susu and I'm a Malenke, I'm not going to marry you because I'm supposed to be your enemy. But they're both black. You see? In America, the brother not going to ask you what tribe you're a member of. He's going to marry you because he like you, right? And you with him. That's only one.
But do you think that being concerned about the tribe a person is from means that you, them, and any of your offspring will always be linked, at least in traditional society, will be linked to a certain geographic region, and you won't have the problem that you described of being sort of removed from the area where vegetation is
that would be good.
Adapted for?
That would be good, and I agree with you. But there's one other part of it, is that the African people are eating a food that is so detrimental that you didn't have. And see, the African people is eating cassava. Cassava is cyanide, pure cyanide, unadulterated. You didn't have that. And because you didn't have the cyanide, you were able to produce plastics, you were able to produce rubber, you were able to build the White House, you were able to produce electricity, you were able to produce agriculture, the African men. And no other black man in the world has ever done that. That shows that black America, even though taken away from motherland and given meat, which is responsible for our anger, we are still able to do things that is over and above any other race in the world. The black race has proven that. And now that another one comes, your brother and servant, Dr. Sebi, it is not so surprising that he's curing AIDS and sickle cell. You know something? Curing AIDS is easy. Curing sickle cell is like play for me. Diabetes, we cure 10 a month. Yet, there aren't any centers in Germany that is beset with diabetes. There aren't centers in the United States that cure diabetes. We cure diabetes. Now, what are we going to do now? I would like to hear the excuse. I would like for someone to take this particular entity to the leaders of America, and I would like to hear the excuse that they're going to give us for not supporting it.
Okay.
In that 1 minute, if you could talk to my audience and tell them your parting words to live a healthier life, you would say what?
My parting word would be this. Make sure that whenever you put something in your mouth, that something is going to complement you and that it's going to serve you well. It's going to support your nervous system. Because if you don't, you will find yourself stressed. Not only are you going to find reasons to dislike me, you're going to dislike yourself. Glucose is the greatest enemy that you could ever be faced with. Avoid it. Because the one thing you want to do is to love. And that love should begin with you. Once you love you, you love the whole world. It's easy. It's delicious to love everybody and everything.
There's no better note to end on. Dr. Sebi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
You find this. You find that we're going to put it into categories. We're going to draw a line and another line. We're going to put natural, unnatural. But there's another category over there. But we're not going to put it there yet. We have natural and unnatural. Why would we entertain they would not be able to see it. Why would there be a category of unnatural? We are natural people. Why do something unnatural? So under natural, we're going to put burnout. Burnout. Why? It is electrical. You know the burnout plant. Go right there in Chicago. Go like mad all over the place. It has energy. Iron is electrical. Under the unnatural, what is the difference? You see, the natural plant is made by God or nature. The unnatural plant is made by man. So therefore, there has to be a difference there. The difference is when you select from this category the unnatural state, you are introducing acid to somebody's body. You're not being truthful. Either because we are unaware, we were not helped by those who were supposed to help us, taught by the student. So he would give you peppermint, aloe vera, comfrey. Let's put it there, peppermint. But they gave you that. You go right now, go to Washington, D.C., go in Chicago. There are brothers and sisters that are selling herbs which sell you peppermint. That's a natural. It would freeze the brain. It's like giving someone sugar. When you give someone sugar, you don't like that person. You don't like that person. You're showing them, I don't love you. I'm going to give you sugar. Why? It has glyceric acid. Glyceric acid, which will stimulate the body and cause you to be nervous. But many of our brothers and sisters are using that as medium to heal. Sugar, in many forms. Sebi is one of the ways that they give it to you. Sugar cane. I used to love sugar cane juice, but it is deadly. It is not something that should go in our mouth. So under the category of unnatural, we have those things, and only a few of them. You know, the hog that we eat. Why do we eat a hog? Oh, because God made it. No, God did not make a hog. God made everything that God made is good. Everything that God made is good. God did not make a hog. God did not make a mule. God did not make a horse. God did not make rice or beans. They tell you in their history. Grigor Mendel, the Jesuit priest in England, made all of your beans. Just put that up there. Beans. Beans? Why not beans? There's starch there. All of these things have starch. That's the one thing that they have in common. Anything that man made must necessarily have starch. Starch is the binder. Starch is carbonic acid, but yet we eat it as a food. So when I tell you that I don't like my neighbor, something wrong with me. Something wrong with me. Like I were when I didn't like Marilyn, my third wife. I want to kill her. And I wasn't joking. But prior to that, I want to kill myself. In 1963, the nigga was crazy. And I wound up in an insane asylum in New York. In New Jersey, 1961. Why was I in an insane asylum with schizophrenia and paranoia? Because I was consuming all this stuff. But I didn't have anyone to really help me, because everybody was telling me, you need your beans for what? Protein. Protein. Now what is that? We don't know, but we use these words, protein. Why? Because there was a mineral that was missing in her diet, and is missing in all of our diet today. They call it iron. So, when Dr. Steinberg noticed that I didn't give Akila any of this stuff like hog or meats or milk or cheese or eggs, she jumped sky high. You have omitted protein from Akila's diet. I said, what? You have omitted protein from Akila's diet. I said, but Dr. Steinberg, I don't know what protein is. You don't know? And you are a so-called, what are you anyway? Say, well, they say that I treat people with these herbs, they call me Dr. Sebi. And you don't know what protein is? I don't know. You tell me. Well, she said, are you saying that protein is a necessary food? I didn't say anything like that. I don't know what protein is. Well, it is one of the 19 amino acids, the building blocks of life. Amino acids. Protein is one of the 19 amino acids, the building block of life. Now, what does the body have to do with amino acids? The body lives in an alkaline environment. Alkaline. Alkaline. The body doesn't need any acids. Acids eats you up. Alkalinity preserves you. It's electrical. You will never find a battery saying acid battery. It's alkaline. It has life. I said, well, Dr. Steinberg, is it electrical? Is protein electrical? I don't know. I said, you don't know. But you use that protein as a premise, as a foundation. I'm the uneducated, you are the educated. I never been to school. So I expect from you a different behavior. Is it electrical? Yes or no? Well, I don't know. Well, that's good. Because there are a lot of things that I don't know and I will never know. This forces me to ask you another question. What is sickle cell anemia, Dr. Steinberg? Well, sickle cell anemia is a disease that black people got 10,000 years ago because the blood went through mutation. I said, I'm more confused. I am more confused now than before. And the reason is because there is a brother of ours by the name of Dick Gregory that goes around the world telling folks that God gave us sickle cell to fight malaria. You tell me it's mutation. But Dr. Steinberg, I want you to know this today, that sickle cell is neither God nor mutation. Like the Gregory you were saying, it is the deprivation of iron fluoride that in sickle cell I should know, because the little girl no longer has sickle cell anemia. But they don't want to hear that. It's coming from a black man, uneducated black man at that. Oh yes, I'm proud to say it. Why? I am not the property of anyone's philosophy. I am the product of my mama and my grandmama. Didn't have a father. Didn't have a father. And that was good for me. Because I didn't have to fight between mama and daddy. Mama and daddy to see which one is right. All I had was mama. And come to find out, it was to be the very vehicle and the way that I was supposed to reach today, this goal in front of you. And I hope that I am the servant to you that my parents want me to be. So make no mistake that today I am not in front of you condescending, because I need you more than you need me. So, understanding that life can only be found in the environment of alkalinity, why would they even make these things? Why was that necessary? But wait. They're going to take you into another zone. Now, they already took you from the natural to the unnatural, but to get back from the unnatural to the natural is only a little thin line. They created another category for you. Supernatural. Now, how could there be a supernatural state of things? A supernatural category? It's natural. Just deal with the natural. No, they will take you into the unnatural and give you some carrot juice and some beans and some pineapple. No, they weren't true with us. They took us into the supernatural. You're not going to get away. What you mean? You got to be eating your children. Could you imagine this? Wait for a moment here. Whenever an institution asks of people to eat a food that they know is hurting you, is that love? Is that love? When I know the truth. Why would they do that? Look, I was down in Mexico, a place named Cuautla Moreno. I saw an herb, and I asked the herbalist, what herb is that? He said, that's Damiana. I said, can I have a kilo? He said, no. The Mexican told me, no, I am not going to sell you that herb. I said, well, why? He said, your license plate on your car. I said, what does my license plate on my car have to do with that herb? He said, everything. Your license plate says California. And the best Damiana come from California. If I tell you mine, I am not being truthful. Look at the level of integrity of that Mexican. Well, I'm driving down 3rd Street in Memphis, and I saw a line of folks trying to get into the store. Now, what are they selling in there? I don't know, but I will stop my car. And when I go in there, hot balls, children's, pig snout, pig ears, selling that to us. They're telling you, I don't like you. Eat this. Come on now. I thought you loved me. You know, or like when I go in front of a guru, he's not being truthful. Because when God put black folks in Africa, everything that black folks needed was right there. God did not put me in Africa and then he omitted a component that I need to go to Japan to get, India, Europe, or Arabia. I don't need any of them. And because I felt that I needed them, they led me. Please lead me. I need a leader. Can't you see I need a leader? I'm blind. I need you to lead me. But the leader, instead of being truthful and kind and understanding, he tells me it means eat hot balls, eat lamb. You don't love me, or something wrong with you. Look at the imposition. Look at the abuse. I stood by for years and listened to that and watched that, even today. Nothing I can do. You think I feel good when I watch a brother eating a piece of lamb chop? You think I don't know the damage he's doing? Then when I thought that when I stopped eating hard, that I start eating the trichina worm, that was very bad for me. So I started eating the pork and I decided to eat the lamb. And in eating the lamb, I didn't know it was 1,000 times worse than pork. It had the Amtrak term, plus memory. You see, they get you going and they get you coming. So in this category over here, they are products. They are product that goes under this category. But to show you how imposing they are and inconsiderate they are, look what they're going to do. The products under the natural could be seen. The product under the unnatural we could also see. But the product under the supernatural